One day, you'll look back at your life, at all the nights you cried, all the plans that fell apart, all the doors that closed before you could step through them, and you'll finally see it was never chaos. It was never random, it was guidance. You'll remember the job you didn't get, the relationship that ended before you were ready, the move you planned that never happened. At the time, each one felt like a loss. It felt like life was against you, pulling you away from the things you wanted most. But in hindsight, you'll realize you weren't being pushed away. You were being redirected. Every no was protecting you from something you couldn't see. Every detour was leading you towards something you didn't yet know you needed. It's almost like walking through a maze. From where you stand, all you see are walls blocking your way. You turn left, only to find another dead end. You try another path, and it feels just as hopeless. But if you could rise above the maze, you'd see there's a perfect route, one that leads exactly where you're meant to be, and every wall, every turn, every blocked path was actually keeping you on track. You'll realize the moments that broke your heart were the same moments that saved it, that the delay you hated was actually perfect timing, that the people who left made room for the ones who would truly stay. Sometimes the guidance is gentle, a quiet nudge in a new direction. Other times it's loud and painful, tearing you away from what you thought was yours. But either way, it's never aimless. There's a hand shaping your journey, even when you can't feel it. And the day you see it clearly will change everything, because you'll stop asking, why me, and start saying, thank you for bringing me here. You'll understand why that heartbreak had to happen, why that door stayed closed, why that long, uncertain season was necessary. It was all part of something bigger, something that was working for you, not against you. Looking back, you'll smile at your younger self, the one who thought life was falling apart, when in reality, life was falling into place. You'll see that every step, even the ones that hurt, was carrying you to this exact moment. And in that moment, you'll feel an overwhelming peace, because you'll know you were never truly alone, you were never lost. You were never forgotten, you were being guided all along. Life rarely unfolds exactly the way we imagine it. We set goals, make plans, and create timelines in our minds, expecting the road to be straight and predictable. But then, suddenly, life throws us off course. A plan falls apart, an opportunity vanishes, a dream we've held onto for years slips through our fingers. In that moment, it feels like the universe is working against us. But what if those unexpected turns, those detours are not obstacles, but part of the very design of our journey? Detours often feel inconvenient and frustrating because they disrupt the path we had envisioned. Imagine driving toward a destination, only to see a sign that says road closed, take alternate route. You groan, you complain, you feel delayed. But sometimes that alternate route leads you through a breathtaking scenic view you never would have experienced otherwise. That's what life's detours do. They take us away from our expected route, but they may lead us to a far richer destination. Many of the greatest transformations in life come through moments we didn't plan for. We might lose a job only to discover a passion we'd been ignoring. We might have a relationship end only to meet someone who truly understands and values us. At first, we resist these changes because they feel like losses. We grieve the path we thought we were on, but often those endings are simply the opening chapters of a better story. Detours also serve as protection. Sometimes we are rushing towards something that looks perfect from the outside but carries dangers we can't see. That delay, that closed door, that sudden change of plans might be keeping us from harm, heartbreak, or regret. We rarely recognize this protection in the moment because our perspective is limited. It's only when we look back that we realize the path we were so eager to take could have led us somewhere we didn't want to be. Life's detours can also refine us. When we are taken off our planned route, we are forced to adapt. We develop patience, resilience, and problem-solving skills we might never have learned if everything had gone smoothly. The alternate path often requires more effort, more faith, and more courage, and in the process, it shapes us into stronger, wiser individuals. Think about the times you've been rerouted in life. Maybe you didn't get into the school you wanted, but you ended up making lifelong friendships elsewhere. Maybe a project you invested your heart into didn't succeed, but it opened the door to something even greater. At the time, it probably felt like failure, but in reality, it was a necessary shift toward where you were meant to be. We must also remember that the timing of our plans matters. Sometimes we're ready in our minds, but not in reality. A detour can slow us down just enough for circumstances to align perfectly. That delay can prepare us for the opportunities ahead, ensuring that when we arrive, we're fully equipped to handle them. The truth is, detours are not a sign that we're lost. They are a sign that we're being led. They remind us that our vision is limited and that there's a perspective far greater than ours guiding the way. While we see only the bend in the road, there's a larger plan at work, one that takes every twist and turn into account. When you start to trust that life's detours have purpose, the frustration begins to fade. You may still feel the sting of disappointment, but you'll also carry the quiet confidence that this change of direction might be leading you somewhere far better than you imagined. There are moments in life when something we deeply desire slips away from us. We've prayed for it, worked toward it, and imagined how perfect it would be, yet somehow it doesn't happen. In that moment, it feels like a cruel twist of fate. We see it as a loss, a missed chance, or even a personal failure. But what if the thing we call disappointment is actually protection in disguise? Not everything that looks good for us is truly good for us. Sometimes we are so focused on what we want that we ignore the hidden dangers beneath the surface. That job you didn't get might have come with a toxic work environment that would have drained your health and peace of mind. That relationship that ended before you wanted it to might have spared you years of pain and heartbreak. That business deal that fell apart could have been the one to pull you into financial ruin. At the time, all we see is the closed door, but behind that door could be chaos we were never meant to walk into. This is where trust becomes essential. We rarely see the full picture while we're in the middle of it. Our perspective is limited to what is right in front of us, but life's plan for us is shaped by knowledge we don't yet have. There are pieces of the puzzle missing from our view, things we couldn't possibly predict. Protection often looks like loss in the moment because we don't yet know what we've been spared from. The irony is that sometimes we fight hardest for the things that would hurt us the most. We chase them with all our energy, thinking they are the answer to our happiness, only to find later that their absence was the real gift. If we could see the storm waiting ahead, we would understand why the path was blocked. But because we can't see it yet, we interpret the redirection as rejection. Protection in disguise also teaches us to pause and reevaluate. When something doesn't work out, it creates space for us to consider what we truly want, what truly matters, and where our energy should be invested. It forces us to think beyond what we thought was best, and to remain open to the idea that there might be something better, something safer, and something more fulfilling ahead. Think of the times you've looked back on your life and thought, "I'm so glad that didn't happen." It could have been a job offer, a move to a new city, a relationship, or even a personal goal. In hindsight, you can see clearly that what once felt like a heartbreaking loss was actually one of the greatest blessings. The beauty is that life doesn't always wait for us to make the right choice. Sometimes it steps in to protect us before we realize we need protecting. But protection in disguise doesn't just happen in big life events, it happens in the small details too. A delayed flight could keep you from danger. A missed meeting could save you from making the wrong deal. A sudden change of plans could put you in the right place at exactly the right time to meet someone or learn something that changes your life. Every interruption, every delay, and every change of direction might be carrying a purpose you can't yet see. It's easy to feel frustrated in the moment, but learning to see loss as possible protection changes the way you handle life's twists. You begin to realize that not everything that passes you by was meant to be yours, and not everything you lose was truly yours to begin with. This mindset not only protects your peace, but also helps you approach the future with more courage and less fear. When you start trusting that even the disappointments might be for your own good, the need to control every detail begins to loosen its grip. You stop clinging to what's slipped away and start staying open to what's still to come. Life has a way of revealing itself in fragments. We see the present moment, the immediate challenge, or the current blessing, but rarely the full story. It's like looking at a single piece of a puzzle and trying to imagine the entire image it belongs to. In our limited view, events may seem random, unfair, or even meaningless, yet they are part of a much greater design that we cannot fully grasp right now. The bigger picture is hidden, not because it doesn't exist, but because it is unfolding one step at a time. When something happens in our lives, good or bad, we often rush to label it. If it feels pleasant, we call it a blessing. If it feels painful, we call it a misfortune. But in truth, we don't yet know how that moment will fit into the larger story of our lives. A delay, for example, might feel frustrating now, but later, it could be the very thing that saved you from a far worse outcome. A closed door could feel like rejection today, but one day you may see that it was the redirection that led you exactly where you needed to be. The hidden nature of the bigger picture is actually an act of mercy. Imagine if we knew everything in advance: the trials we would face, the heartbreaks that would come, or the losses we would endure. The weight of that knowledge could crush us before we even began the journey. Instead, life reveals each chapter when it's time, giving us only what we can carry in that moment. The unseen future is both a test of trust and a safeguard for our hearts. Often, we forget that the difficulties we face may be building something within us: resilience, patience, humility, or strength that we will need for a purpose we can't yet see. What feels like unnecessary suffering might be necessary preparation. A season of waiting could be developing the character and wisdom required to handle a future opportunity with maturity and grace. Without the trial, we might not be ready for the blessing that lies ahead. The hidden bigger picture also means that not everything in life will make sense immediately. Some events may take years to understand. Others might never fully be explained until we look back from a much later stage in life and realize how all the twists, delays, and detours came together to form a path that was far better than the one we would have chosen for ourselves. What looked like random pieces were in fact perfectly placed parts of a greater design. This perspective is humbling because it reminds us that we are not the ultimate planners of our lives. We can make choices, set goals, and work hard, but there will always be factors beyond our control that shape the direction we take. The bigger picture includes things we didn't choose and couldn't predict, yet somehow they end up being exactly what we needed. Sometimes the most transformative moments in life are the ones we didn't plan. A chance meeting, an unexpected offer, a sudden change of direction, all of these can alter the course of our lives in ways that feel surprising in the moment but make perfect sense later. If the bigger picture were fully visible from the start, we might resist these changes because they don't align with our current plans. But in hiding the bigger picture, life allows us to take each step without overthinking the destination. Even in pain, the hidden design is at work. The loss that brought you to your knees may be the very thing that pushed you toward a greater purpose. The rejection that shattered your confidence might have been the event that set you free to find something far better. The closed door that once made you cry could be the reason you found a door that opened into a life you truly love. We can choose to see the hidden bigger picture as a source of frustration or as a reason to trust more deeply. When we accept that we don't have to see everything to know it's working for our good, we find peace in the uncertainty. We stop demanding answers for every twist in the road and instead focus on taking the next step with faith that one day the entire picture will be revealed and it will make sense. Pain is something we naturally try to avoid. It's uncomfortable, unsettling, and can make us feel as if the ground beneath us has been pulled away. Yet for many, the most transformative chapters of life often begin in the moments of deepest hurt. Pain, though unwelcome, has a unique way of stopping us in our tracks and forcing us to reassess the direction we're heading. It can strip away the illusions we've been holding onto and push us toward paths we might never have considered otherwise. In times of ease, we often move through life on autopilot. We get comfortable in routines, even if they're not truly fulfilling or aligned with our purpose. But pain disrupts that comfort. It demands attention. It's like an alarm ringing in the middle of the night, impossible to ignore. Suddenly, we begin asking questions we never asked before. Why am I here? Is this what I truly want? What needs to change? Pain can force these questions into the open and bring clarity to areas of our lives that have been clouded for too long. Sometimes, pain acts as a mirror, revealing truths we've been avoiding. It can uncover unhealthy relationships, toxic environments, or self-destructive habits that we've learned to tolerate. In the midst of hurt, we may realize that we've been settling for far less than we deserve, or that we've been walking a path that's slowly draining the life out of us. Without the sharp sting of pain, we might have continued on the same road for years, never knowing that a better way was possible. Pain can also spark courage. In the middle of heartbreak or disappointment, there comes a moment when we decide enough is enough. We gather the strength to walk away, to start over, to rebuild from scratch. This decision often comes when the discomfort of staying the same finally outweighs the fear of change. That's the turning point, when the pain stops being just something we endure and becomes the fuel that propels us into action. The lessons pain teaches are often ones we could not have learned otherwise. In the depths of a trial, we discover resilience we didn't know we had. We learn empathy because we've tasted suffering ourselves. We begin to understand the value of joy because we've known what it feels like to lose it. These lessons don't just change our circumstances, they change us. They shape our character in ways comfort never could. Many people look back on the most difficult moments of their lives and realize they were also the moments that set them on a new, better path. A lost job leads to a career that feels more fulfilling. A broken relationship clears the space for a healthier one to enter. A health scare inspires a commitment to self-care and a more intentional lifestyle. At the time, these events may have felt like the end, but in hindsight, they were the beginning of something greater. Pain can also deepen our sense of purpose. When we've been through something hard, we often feel a pull to help others going through similar struggles. Our experiences, once sources of shame or sorrow, can become sources of wisdom and encouragement. We can speak from a place of authenticity because we've lived it, and in helping others heal, we often find healing for ourselves. Of course, a turning point doesn't happen automatically. Pain by itself can also lead to bitterness, hopelessness, or withdrawal if we let it consume us. The shift happens when we choose to see pain not just as a wound, but as a signal that something in our life needs to change. It's when we decide to use our suffering as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. This doesn't mean the process will be quick or easy. Change often requires patience, endurance, and a willingness to face the unknown. But if we can hold on to the belief that pain has the potential to lead us somewhere better, we open ourselves to transformation. The moment we make that shift in perspective, pain stops being the end of the story and becomes the turning point that writes a new chapter. In the middle of a difficult season, gratitude can feel like the farthest thing from our minds. When the road is rough, when we're faced with loss, or when life isn't going the way we hoped, our first instinct is often to question, resist, or grieve what's happening. It's rare that we look at pain and say, "I'm thankful for this." Yet, time has a way of shifting our perspective. With hindsight, moments that once felt unbearable can later be seen as pivotal, even precious. Gratitude, in many cases, arrives not during the storm but after it has passed, when we can look back and understand why it had to happen the way it did. When we are right in the middle of a struggle, our vision is often limited. We see only the immediate discomfort, the unanswered questions, and the dreams that seem to be slipping away. It's as though we're standing too close to a massive painting, able to notice only dark strokes of color without seeing how they fit into the bigger masterpiece. But as time passes, we step back and see more of the picture. We begin to recognize how the painful moments were not random, they were shaping us, strengthening us, and guiding us toward places we couldn't have reached otherwise. Gratitude with hindsight often comes from recognizing the growth that was born from hardship. We think about who we were before the trial and realize how much we've changed for the better. Perhaps we developed resilience we didn't know we had, or learned patience in the waiting. Maybe we discovered a deeper sense of empathy for others who suffer. At the time, the pain seemed senseless, but later we see that it built qualities in us that we now value deeply. There are also times when we look back and realize that what we thought was a loss was actually protection. That door we were so desperate to walk through would have led us into a situation that was harmful or unfulfilling. That opportunity that slipped away was making room for one that was far better suited for us. Only after experiencing the blessings of the new path can we say, "I'm grateful things didn't go the way I wanted them to." Hindsight gratitude also comes from seeing connections that weren't obvious before. A chance meeting, a small decision, or even a painful ending might have set into motion a chain of events that led us exactly where we needed to be. At the time, those events seemed insignificant or even frustrating, but years later, we recognized them as turning points that shaped our entire journey. It's in those moments of realization that we truly understand that nothing was wasted. Sometimes gratitude is tied to the people we meet along the way. We might look back on a challenging season and remember the friends who stood by us, the mentors who guided us, or the strangers who offered kindness when we least expected it. In hindsight, we appreciate not just the lessons we learned, but the relationships that were formed or deepened through adversity. Without that season of hardship, we might never have crossed paths with those people. Even the waiting periods, those frustrating stretches when it felt like nothing was happening, can later become sources of gratitude. We come to see that delays gave us time to prepare, to heal, or to grow into the person who could handle the blessing when it arrived. Looking back, we realize that if things had happened too soon, we might not have been ready to receive them. One of the most powerful aspects of hindsight gratitude is how it changes our outlook moving forward. Once we've seen how past difficulties have worked out for good, we begin to face present challenges with a little more trust. We remember that we've been in dark places before and eventually found light. We remind ourselves that even if we can't see it now, there may come a day when we look back on this current struggle with a grateful heart. It's important to acknowledge that this process takes time. Gratitude doesn't erase the reality of pain, nor does it mean we should force ourselves to feel thankful in the middle of suffering. But it does mean that there is hope, the possibility that one day we'll look back and see beauty in what once felt like brokenness. We may even find ourselves thankful for the very things we once begged to be spared from, simply because they led us to a place we never would have reached otherwise. Life has a way of making us feel isolated, especially in moments of hardship or uncertainty. There are seasons when the road ahead seems unclear, when the challenges are heavy, and when the silence around us feels deafening. In those moments, it's easy to believe that we are walking the path alone, carrying the weight of our burdens without help. Yet the truth is often far different. Even when it felt like there was no one beside you, you were never truly alone in the journey. Sometimes the presence walking with us is quiet, almost invisible to our eyes, yet it's there guiding, protecting, and shaping the path ahead. We don't always notice it in real time because our focus is consumed by the obstacles in front of us. But if we look back on the journey, we begin to see patterns. The closed doors that saved us from wrong turns, the unexpected opportunities that appeared at just the right time, the inner strength we drew upon in moments we thought we'd collapse. These were not accidents. They were reminders that someone or something greater than us was walking the road with us. The truth that we were never alone often reveals itself in the quiet ways help arrived. Think about the strangers who showed unexpected kindness, the friends who called at just the right moment, or the family members who stepped in when we were at our lowest. These were not coincidences, they were threads of connection woven into our path to remind us we were supported, even if we didn't realize it at the time. Being never alone doesn't always mean having people physically beside us. Sometimes it means having guidance in the form of wisdom, intuition, or a deep inner voice urging us to keep going. How many times have we felt an unexplainable nudge to take a different path, to wait a little longer, or to step forward with courage despite fear? Those quiet whispers often become the very moments that change our lives. There's also an unseen protection that accompanies us on the journey. Think of the close calls, the opportunities that didn't work out but later proved to be harmful had they gone through. The relationships that ended before they could break us further. The delays that seemed frustrating but kept us safe. These moments, though sometimes painful, were actually evidence that the road was being cleared for something better. Looking back, we can see how we were guided through storms that could have destroyed us. We made it through heartbreaks we thought would never heal. We found our footing again after losses that left us feeling empty. We walked out of valleys we thought would be endless. And in each of those situations, we realize now that there was a presence carrying us through when our own strength wasn't enough. Even in loneliness, there are signs we weren't truly abandoned. The resilience that rose up within us when everything seemed lost wasn't something we created out of thin air, it was given to us. The hope that flickered, even in the darkest nights, wasn't a random spark, it was placed there to keep us moving forward. Every small victory along the way was a hand reaching out, pulling us one step closer to the place we were meant to be. This understanding changes the way we view the journey. When we realize we were never alone, we stop seeing our life as a series of random events and start seeing it as a guided path. We become more aware of the quiet ways we are supported every single day. We start to notice that even in seasons of uncertainty, help and guidance still find us. It also brings comfort in present struggles. If we've been carried through difficulties before, then it's likely we are being carried through the current ones too, even if we can't yet see the evidence. That reassurance doesn't take away the pain, but it gives us the strength to keep walking, knowing that the same presence that walked with us in the past is still walking with us now. And when we finally reach moments of peace after seasons of trial, the truth becomes undeniable. Every step, every detour, every delay, every rescue, they were never by chance. The journey may have felt lonely at times, but it was never truly traveled alone.